I've really gotten back into watching atheist versus theist debates lately, and I've been keeping or making a list of debate moments that really catch my attention. I was going to go over a few of them on today's episode, but since the first two segments already took up a decent amount of time, I think I'll only go over one today. I was watching a recent panel discussion where there were four participants, or did I say that strange? Four participants? Anyway, you know what I mean, and a moderator. And I think there may have been some kind of a panpsychist organization or podcast behind it. But I also saw that the video, or videos plural, there were multiple parts, were up on Premiere Unbelievable's YouTube channel as well, or the YouTube channel for Unbelievable, which is a Christian podcast hosted by Justin Brierley. And Premiere is a Christian British network or radio station, and Unbelievable falls under that umbrella. But yeah, I saw the videos on multiple YouTube channels. But one of the panelists was Richard Dawkins, representing atheism as the host or moderator seemed to imply. But I think Richard clarified that he was there to represent biology and science. Then there was Richard Swinburne, representing theism or Christianity, a professor named Jessica Fraser, I think it is, representing Hinduism or Eastern religious or an Eastern religious perspective. And then a philosopher named Sylvia Jonas, I think it is, I believe representing Judaism or philosophy. And I've watched this panel discussion 2 or 3 times now, and there's one particular moment that really gets under my skin every time, where Sylvia Jonas, and I really hope I'm not butchering her name, who I just mentioned, challenges Dawkins almost as if she's trying to guilt him about his atheistic worldview. It's very strange. I'll play the clip, actually, several clips. And for context, first she's addressing Richard Swinburne, who had just finished waxing philosophical or poetic about theism, and then she addresses Dawkins. So here's the first clip.
Sorry, I would like to ask a question. Actually, it's a question for Richard Dawkins, but inspired by what you just said. So, and it sort of, I think, illustrates my point of view. There is so much beauty in what you just said, and I can
so much
beauty in what you just said, and it gives a certain perspective on our otherwise completely random existence. And it gives people dignity. So I was just reminded of the novel by Henryk Sienkiewicz, Quo Vadis. It was turned into a popular Hollywood movie, but I'm talking about the actual novel that he received the Nobel Prize for. And it describes the persecution of Christians under the rule of Nero in ancient Rome, so early Christianity. And it was so atrocious what they did to Christian people back in the days. And their belief, their faith gave them such dignity when they had to face the most horrible, horrible things that were being done to them. And I found that extremely moving. It's impossible to ignore the kinds of power that a religion and a religious belief can unfold. And it's something I think, as a philosopher at least, I want to respect. And that's something that belongs onto the syllabus of every good philosophy undergraduate course. My question for you, Richard Dawkins, is on your worldview, what do you make of the belief of so many people in the world who are theists or have theistic inclinations? I'd say it's, we spoke about the numbers, or I mentioned them in the book. I think it's at least 95% or some number like that.
7% of the world are non-religious.
That's right. 7% of the world's population self-identify as atheists. So the vast majority of people have at least some kind of theistic inclinations, whatever exact form they might be taking. Are all of these people only deluded? Is that the only thing we can say about that?
Yes.
And so I absolutely love how Dawkins just matter-of-factly says, yes. Like, what do you want me to say? So is it just me, or does the way she poses the question to him sound almost like it's kind of pointed or like she has an accusatory tone. It kind of rubs me the wrong way. And maybe I'm making too much of it or reading too much into it. And as I think Dawkins will say, the fact that a majority of people believe something or that, a great deal of people believe something doesn't necessarily mean it's true. I will say, in fairness to her, that I myself find some martyr stories from antiquity moving, and I've even contemplated covering some on the show, especially the story of Perpetua, which I've wanted to do a mini documentary on for years now. She also talks about how the fact that religious belief provides some kind of benefit or gives people dignity should be means it should be included in every good undergraduate philosophy syllabus. I mean, she's the philosopher / academic, but sounds a little weird to me. I can see examining the supposed or possible benefits of religion or spiritual belief at the point where religion comes up during a philosophy course, but she seems to really want to stress that. But here's the next clip.
Okay, then.
I mean, what argument are you making? We don't decide such things by majority vote.
No. So what I'm trying to say is that besides offering an explanatory, competing hypothesis to questions about the first instances of our cosmos, or perhaps about whatever sustains the cosmos, religion and theistic belief does so much more. And I think there should be a place in any philosophy thinking about this that respects all the different functions and benefits that theistic belief has.
What more are you thinking of? What do you say does so much more? What are you thinking of there?
Sorry?
What are you thinking of when you say religious belief does so much more?
Well, it makes sense of, as I said, it gives a sense to something that is otherwise completely unexplainable. When we look at the ethical dimensions of religious belief, it can give people guidance, how to behave, how to act with one another. It can give answers how to, as Richard Swinburne just explained to us, it can give us a way of facing, extremely difficult life situations, etc., etc.
It gives comfort and consolation.
Somehow it sounds a little bit like, it's, to me, I feel like it's a little bit more than that. When you say it like that, I assume what you have in mind is that it comforts us the way wishful thinking sometimes comforts us.
Once again, I love his frankness. It sounds like you're saying it's just wishful thinking. Yes. And don't get me wrong, I think everyone should be free to believe what they want and practice the religion of their choice. There's even aspects of various religions that I respect or admire, and I think there can be value and wisdom to be found in religious symbolism and religious stories and texts. But I feel the same way about mythology, and what are myths but the stories and beliefs of dead religions? I don't believe in the miracle stories of the Bible any more than I believe that Athena sprang from Zeus's head or that Prometheus stole fire from the gods. But yeah, I have no problem with people being religious. That's their choice, and I understand the desire to want to believe in something. My problem is with an academic enabling or endorsing the suspension of disbelief that religion requires. And I believe she even suggests that religion can provide answers to questions regarding the beginning of the cosmos and other things that otherwise are quote-unquote unexplainable. And it's true that religion can help comfort people looking for answers to such questions, but I guess I would expect her as an academic or learned person to not be so supportive of people falling back on religion to fill in the gaps in our scientific knowledge of the universe we live in. Just seems kind of weird.
That's exactly what you mean.
Yes.
So what do you make of the fact that there are people who are extremely educated, who have read your books, who know their way around in the natural sciences and yet hold on to theistic beliefs?
Well, many of them, if you actually ask them what they believe, it turns out that they are what they might call spiritual.
What's the difference?
Well, I'm spiritual. When I look up at the stars, when I look up at the Milky Way, I have a feeling, an overwhelming emotional reaction to that. And you could call that spiritual. So when you say that highly educated people in science are religious, you want to ask them, do they actually believe, for example, that Jesus is the Son of God? Do they actually believe they're going to survive their own death? I would ask them that sort of question. Do you think that the people you're talking about believe they're going to survive death?
Yes, I think I cannot speak so much for the Christian point of view, but I know of quite a few people who are scientists and who are observant Jews and who believe that the halakha, the Jewish law, is literally true.
Yes, but do they believe they're going to survive death?
Oh, it's a question.
That's a big question.
It's a question that doesn't have the same prominent place in Judaism.
I know
as
it
has in
doesn't. That's why I asked it. I asked it precisely because that is a scientific question. The brain is what does the thinking. When the brain decays, do you think you're going to survive death? Do you think you're going to survive death?
I don't know. I wish I had such a firm answer to it.
I actually thought that was an awesome response by Dawkins. He pointed out that many scientists who claim to be spiritual may not necessarily be theists. Of course, some, like Francis Collins, are, and there could be a certain amount of compartmentalization going on there. And I also like how he pointedly asked her if she personally thought she was going to survive her own death. And I thought her response may have been, once again, a little snarky or passive-aggressive. She says she wishes she had such a firm answer to it or something like that, almost as if she thought Dawkins was wrong to have his own firm, atheistic or scientific materialist view on death. Can you just hear my chihuahua breathing there? Anyway, she's sitting behind me on my computer chair. But in fairness to her, and not the philosopher, not my chihuahua, it sounds like English probably isn't her first language, so maybe she didn't necessarily intend for her comment to have that little barb in it, but kind of sounded that way, to me at least.
But I certainly don't think that I should dismiss somebody who believes it for good reasons meaning, a certain upbringing, a certain conviction that their religious tradition has a point, should just be disqualified as people who are engaged in wishful thinking.
I like how upbringing is a good excuse to hold on to what are probably erroneous supernatural beliefs to her. And once again, people are free to believe what they want. When I meet a religious person in real life, I don't try to deconvert them or tell them their beliefs are BS. If they ask what my beliefs are or want to wax philosophical about the big questions or talk in depth about religion, I won't hide my skepticism and I'll tell them what my view honestly is, but, politely. I don't know what she expects of Dawkins. No one's forcing a religious person to buy a copy of The God Delusion or listen to an atheist podcast or watch an atheist versus theist debate. If they want to avoid that stuff, they can. But atheists and skeptics should be free to voice their opinions just like anyone else. What does she want Dawkins to apologize and promise to stop being a meanie? I'm sorry I threatened your suspension of disbelief by speaking logically and plainly about religion.
Just to interject here to bring Jessica in for a moment. Just a point of agreement, though. I think Richard Dawkins is fine, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, with those who are culturally Christian, who enjoy collective comings together and community building and the artworks and all. There are some good things that come out of religious community, which I think you'll both agree give people a sense of purpose and togetherness, strength, etc., and beautiful, wonderful art as well. The point, the disagreement, though, is that it's just wishful thinking in terms of the scientific hypothesis that.
Yes, I mean, the music and the art were certainly agreed about.
Yeah.
And there's no question about that. The beautiful literature, the Book of Ecclesiastes, the Song of Songs, these are wonderful poetry. I gather they're even better in the Hebrew than in the English, but they're pretty good in English. But so what? I mean, that has nothing to do with the truth.
Right.
of propositions, which is a scientific proposition that when the brain decays, your personality survives. That is a scientific proposition, which seems to me at least very, very improbable indeed.
Yet again, very well said on Dawkins' part there. And once again, like I've said recently on the show, I don't want to believe it's just lights out, but I believe in being honest with myself and being realistic. And she talked about religion giving people dignity. I think there's dignity and integrity in wanting to be factually honest and wanting to know what's actually true instead of just placating or pacifying yourself with beliefs you find comforting. But on that somewhat dark note, I guess I'll call this episode a wrap. As always, you guys know the drill. You can like the Facebook page. You can follow me on Twitter or X, even though I'm not on there much. You can check out the YouTube channel. Maybe you're doing that now. If you'd like to support the show monetarily, which is always greatly appreciated, now more than ever, but I won't go into it. You can go to patreon.com/theweekindoubt and help the show out for as little as 99 cents a month. All right, brothers and sisters, thank you so much for listening, and as always, until next time.